Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. So I think this is going to be a longer video than usual, so I hope some of you watch the whole video before you leave a comment. So Pop Goes the 60s recently did a video called The Fanboys of Dungeon Lane Reaction. And I was actually thinking today, well, what am I going to title this? And I thought, The Fanboys of Dungeon Lane Reaction, right? But I just noticed that he already has reaction. So maybe I'll call this The Fanboys of Dungeon Lane Reaction. So I've known of the channel Pop Goes the 60s for a few years, and I even did a video a few months back that it's my favorite music-related channel, and still is today. So please check out Pop Goes the 60s if you haven't already. And you can see up here, Matt just sent me some very nice gifts yesterday on my Larry Graves Show channel. I believe that's where I posted it. I've got two channels. I get confused because I'm old. So I had watched part of this on my computer, and then I wanted to finish it with my dinner on the couch, watching it on television, right? I'm having my salad. And I was kind of thinking maybe he would read one of my comments or something, because he was reading other comments his from his review of The Boys of Dungeon Lane. But he did more than that. He kind of talked about me for a few minutes, and I was seriously, Matt and I are friends, but that doesn't mean that a friend can't talk negatively about you. It's happened to me in the past. So I was kind of a little stressed, maybe, like, oh, because I rated The Boys of Dungeon Lane very highly, as you will see. But it was good. What Matt said was fine, and so I was kind of relieved. I don't have to unsubscribe from him yet. So I'm going to play the clip of him mainly talking about me, and then there are certain comments from his video that were about me, and so I wanted to respond to those. So anyway, you can have whatever feelings you have about Matt and Pop Goes the 60s in the comment section below, but please just be respectful. You can disagree with them, that's totally fine. You can disagree with me, that's totally fine. But if you're nasty or whatever, you're out of here. I'm nervous. Here we go.
But what we do get from them, despite what we expect, are headlines like this. Paul McCartney looks back in splendor with a new solo masterpiece. I consider this hyperbole of the lowest order.
And for Matt's review of the album, it wasn't a bad review. He said some positive things, like he mentions if you haven't seen the video, I'll leave a link for it in the pinned comment below, and please watch his video. But there were negative things too, and he wasn't that impressed with the album overall. Not, like I said, he didn't bash it, but he wasn't impressed with the album like a lot of us are. Okay, which is fine. It's his opinion.
You're coming out the week the album comes out and declaring it a masterpiece. Now, I think this is irresponsible. I'm going to go into this a little bit more later, but there's something else going on here with what I call legacy artists. But as a masterpiece goes, what makes it a masterpiece is perspective. And in order to have perspective, you need the passage of time. So the first day the album comes out, May 22nd is when this article came out. So right when it came out, essentially. And let me read to you the subtitle here. The Boys of Dungeon Lane is a richly nostalgic trip that proves this legend is still as creative as ever.
And I agree with that statement, although I'm not a fan of Rolling Stone in any way.
So they even give it away what they're doing here in the subtitle. They're referring to his whole career, his legendary career. And they're applying his career, I think, to this album. And hence they call it a masterpiece, probably even before they listen to it. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that really stoked the fire.
And it is funny regarding Rolling Stone, because us older Beatles fans remember Rolling Stone in especially the early 70s. They were really pro John Lennon and anti Paul McCartney. But yeah.
For what I see as over-adulation in the marketplace of this album. Now, one of my YouTube colleagues loves this album.
When he said that, I was thinking, oh, is he talking about me? I might not be able to finish my salad. I'll be crying.
I'm sure you're familiar with one.
It's me with Sir Paul McCartney. That was actually a pretty good thumbnail, thanks to AI.
Lawrence Graves, the Canadian Studmuffin. Larry and I, we trade comments back, and he said, yeah, I really love this album. It was the third listen that really got him going on this album. I said, wow, that's kind of ironic. It was the third listen that I couldn't get through. But, to each their own.
Yeah. And the first listen, I really liked the album. I did. I liked all of the songs, except for one. And then the second listen, I really liked it. Third listen, you get to know the songs, at least at my age. I could go on about this for hours, but I won't. I'll shut up.
Everybody's got their own thing. So Larry, I don't think Larry will mind me.
I'm in the process of suing you.
Talking about this because Larry and I get on well, and we never, even though we don't agree at some things, we don't say nasty things about each other like we see other podcasters and other.
I think Matt should shave his legs. I'm just jealous because I have no hair on my legs.
YouTubers do, and I can't find my page here. Excuse me. Oh, here it is. Okay. Larry had this to say. This may have been a Facebook post. I think this will go down as one of the best albums of all time by anyone. None of his albums have hit me like this one has. Now, that's high praise. And again, I think it's too early to tell that this could be one of the best albums of all time. I mean, clearly. But Larry gives something away here. He says, none of his albums have hit me like this one has. So this is personal, a personal response of his. And if you look at Larry Graves' his rankings of McCartney albums, he does tons of rankings.
And I'm doing a ranking of all of David Bowie's albums right now. I'm almost done that series. And so with all of these series I'm doing recently, the Paul McCartney one, I started with his debut album, McCartney, from 1970, all the way to The Boys of Dungeon Lane. So I think it hits, at least for me and maybe some other music fans, it hits me differently when I go through a artist's whole discography in order of release, right?
So he has ranked 27 of McCartney's solo albums, pretty much all of his main 27. And his average is almost a 9 out of 10 across the board. Now that is extremely high.
Now, it might also be because Paul McCartney is my all-time favorite solo artist. John Lennon is my all-time favorite singer. Paul McCartney is my second favorite singer of all time. But for a solo career, and of course with the Beatles, he's my favorite artist. So I'm going to love a lot of his music. And I actually love his whole discography more than I ever have, because I took the time really listening to some of the albums I wasn't as familiar with when I was doing the rankings.
I think even most McCartney fans, you may not come up with an average that high. So this guy's invested in McCartney. Let me just go through his list here. He's got 8 albums at 10 out of 10, 10 albums rated at 9 out of 10.
Those are way too high, those ratings. I don't believe in those ratings. That guy's not a music critic.
3 at 8.5 out of 10, and then a couple at 8 out of 10.
Yeah, like I was saying, an album like Pipes of Peace, before I did this series, I would listen to the album once in a blue moon, but I didn't like it. I thought, and I've told this story so many times. When Tug of War came out, I bought the album on vinyl back in the day. And when Pipes of Peace came out, the couple of the songs that were on the music channels at the time, and I thought the songs were, like the song Pipes of Peace was corny. And I guess it is, right? Even today, some of Paul's songs are corny. And I just want to quickly say that I remember John Fogerty from CCR. He was on Bill Maher a few months back, and he was talking about music and the song Center Field, trying to remember the song. And he was saying that the song is corny. But he said, I'm a corny guy. And that kind of got me thinking about Paul McCartney, because Paul's written a lot of corny songs. But hey, it's part of his personality. Paul can be corny, I guess, right?
Street, second last at 7 out of 10, and the Russian album at 5 out of 10. Now, Larry confuses some people with some of his rankings because he's not ranking these up against Dark Side of the Moon or, Paul Simon's Graceland or AC/DC's Back in Black. He's ranking these as a standalone album and how he likes the songs. So this is a personal experience for him, and that's why these ratings are so high.
Yeah, and I've been bashed off and on through the years. I give a lot of 10 out of 10s. It's just me. If I love an album, it doesn't matter who the artist is. If I love the album from start to finish, there's nothing wrong with it. I love every song. And for me personally, I've got a lot of 10 out of 10 albums in my CD collection, right? So it's not just Paul McCartney I give 10 out of 10 tens to. But I'm not a music critic. I'm not a professional music critic. I am just a fan of music. And I'm 68 years old. As some of you know, I've got health issues and everything. And I've gone through depression and everything. Losing my 2 cats in the last 3 years has really dealt me a blow. And music means more to me today at my age than ever. So when somebody like Paul McCartney releases a new album, and I think it's great, it's fantastic, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. But I've never reacted to a Paul McCartney album. I've enjoyed all of his previous albums because I'm a fan. Egypt Station, New, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, Kisses on the Bottom, not so much. But music just resonates with me more than ever. And like I said, I'm not a professional critic. And I run with my emotions more than anything. I admit it's feelings, right? It's the feeling, it's very spiritual for me.
So I can appreciate that. And knowing Larry, I don't have a problem with that at all. And I kind of know where he's coming from because
that's the point where I could actually enjoy the rest of my salad.
McCartney affects him personally. And
yeah, but Paul McCartney affects me personally, but so does dozens of other artists like Donovan, Sparks. Many artists affect me personally. It's music, right?
It doesn't affect me that way.
Because we're some someone like Matt, he's a Beatles fan, of course, but he's a younger Beatles fan than me. My one of my first, probably my first memory is seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. That affected me big time. And I've carried that throughout the years. And I kind of got off track about Paul McCartney, but I gave up on buying new Paul McCartney albums after Tug of War. I never bought Pipes of Peace. And I just kind of, not that I wasn't a fan anymore of his previous albums or the Beatles, but I just stopped buying his new albums until I heard Dance Tonight on you. I saw the video for Dance Tonight on YouTube, and I decided, wow, I really like that song. It's a simple song, maybe corny, but I really liked it. And so I bought Memory Almost Full, and I loved that album. And I became a fan again. Then I ended up buying the previous albums, and some I really liked. Like Off the Ground, I think is underrated. And I've been a fan once again ever since, right?
So I'm probably not going to rank it as highly. So these are just some of the things that you can take into account while you are reviewing other people's critiques and trying to understand where they're coming from. Because you need some kind of point of reference. Where are you coming from? Other people's critiques and trying to understand where they're coming from. Because you need some kind of point of reference.
See, like this person here, best album since Venus and Mars. This is Brian's opinion on the album. And somebody replies, what? It's like, why can't this person state that and without it being questioned? It's his opinion, right?
Where are you coming from? A lot of the vitriol that I get is just pure emotion. And Jim Royal said earlier, well, that's your opinion.
That's one of my favorites is I had a coughing fit, excuse me. That's one of my favorite comments that I get once in a while too. Well, that's your opinion. It's like, yes, it is. It's my opinion. Thank you.
And when people say that's your opinion, let me tell you what's going on here. Typically, it's one of two things. They'll get to the point of the argument where they haven't got shit. They only have emotion, whereby a good arguer will have facts, logic, rationale, evidence. So they'll come out and say, well, that's just your opinion to stop the argument. The other thing that they're doing, because you hear these comments like, well,
and I'm almost done this. So please, like I said, his video is very interesting. So please check it out. I'll have the link in the comment section below.
Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. Duh. Well, that's only self-serving for the person who can't make a good argument. So what they're trying to do is...
And for me personally, if somebody disagrees with what I say about an album or whatever, it's like, I'm not going to argue. I just don't like to argue about music because it is personal. You're not always going to agree with my opinion, and that's fine. You can have your own opinion, and we hopefully respect each other's opinions, right?
They're trying to make it seem like, or make it such that every opinion is equal. That is not true. Let me give you an example.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. There's a bit more that he says that's very interesting, but please check it out. And I hadn't watched the whole video yet when I left this comment, but I love, the thing, that's your opinion. So I put, that's your opinion, Matt. Dungeon Lane is one of my favorite McCartney albums, but if someone else doesn't like it as much as me, I can live with that. And then Matt replied, I like your passion about the album, which is legitimate. You you also are very tolerant of others' opinions. For the most part, I do get irked too with certain comments. I'm not a perfect human being. I'm sorry. Even when you don't agree, so I've always admired that about you. So thank you, Matt. Then there's other comments. Yeah, like most of McCartney's solo stuff is mediocre. And his last big hit was 45 or so years ago. And I don't care about that. I don't care that he hasn't had a hit single in 45 years. And to say that most of McCartney's solo stuff is mediocre, that is his opinion, which I respect. But it's not true for me, right? So these are a few of the comments on Matt's video, and I think most of them mention me. So Thomas Roth, I worked as a music critic writer for many years, and of course, people didn't always like what I wrote, and many of them seemed to enjoy telling me that I was wrong. And then at the end it says, Larry Graves is no. But you are so right. People are driven by their feelings and display a lack of skill in analyzing the material. I'm not skillful at analyzing music. I've always admitted that. I'm just a music fan. I run with my emotions. That's it. Larry Graves is one of them, as are several other YouTubers who see themselves as experts on the Beatles. And I don't think any of us, or most of us, consider ourselves experts on the Beatles. I know that Mean Mr. Mael, when he reviews albums by Ringo or Paul or whoever, he if he doesn't like a song, he's going to say he doesn't, or even an album, right? We're all and this fanboy thing, right? McCartney fanboys. I'm a fan, but I'm not a boy. I guess I'm a fan man. Okay, another one. Larry G and I are the same age, so we literally grew up with the Beatles, which makes it more personal than second or third generation Beatle fans. However, I never felt McCartney or even Lennon, for that matter, produced the level of excellence the Beatles achieved. And I kind of see his point a little bit. For me, nothing compares to the Beatles. I still play the Beatles. I would say in the last month, I've played something by the Beatles, like an album by the Beatles, almost every night. But to kind of put down the second or third generation of Beatles fans, I don't agree with that either. They could have, even if they didn't grow up with the Beatles, they can still be massive fans of the Beatles or Paul McCartney and possibly love almost everything that they do, right? All right, Bill Sharkey. Dungeon Lane isn't a bad album, but it is way down the list of my fave Macca albums. That's his opinion. I can respect that. For anyone to call Dungeon a masterpiece is ridiculous, in my opinion. See, right there. And I'm not saying that, I don't know what a masterpiece means, right? I guess Abbey Road is a masterpiece, but uh, Larry Graves has a habit of gushing over albums, probably needs to get out more. And that is true. I do need to get out more. Like I said, I've been going through, kind of sad times the last 2 or 3 years. But that has nothing to do with music. I gush over a lot of albums. I don't just gush over Paul McCartney. I gush over Donovan, Blue Oyster Cult, Frank Zappa, Ween. I love everything by Ween. I love. So, and 95% of what Paul McCartney has done, I really, really like or love today. Two more. I was with you at first. I was very disappointed, very disappointed. But the more I have listened, the more I like it. I am now to the point where I absolutely love it. It is one of my favorites. It just makes me smile each time it is finished. Top 10 McCartney album, in my humble opinion. And there you go, right? That's just in the last couple of years, especially, I've realized that even older albums that I thought were just mediocre, I've given them a fresh listen, and it's like, oh, for some of them, it's like, oh, this is actually really good. Why did I not like this album back in the day? It has nothing to do with Paul McCartney or the Beatles. And then this person, I won't say his name, he would be kind of nasty on my channels. And I think he even sent me a message on Instagram when I blocked him on YouTube, and I blocked him on Instagram. So these kind of people I don't want in my life at all, right? And then he's kind of mocking me because I get things from the Lennon estate, right? Matt, this is the question that needs asked. If Paul wasn't that guy who made the best music you will ever hear in the Beatles, would you be a fan? I wouldn't. He had the Midas touch from 63 to 71. I love the guy, but this is fandom and nothing more. I don't even know what that means. And then somebody's responding to him, probably closer to 77 or 78. See, even though they're kind of agreeing with each other, they can't get the right year, with the occasional brilliant song afterwards. There are some absolutely wonderful works on Flaming Pie, for example, but your overall point is well taken. And then he replied, I love Chaos and Flaming Pie, but when you have fans praising Egypt Station, McCartney 3, and even Driving Rain, and I love Egypt Station, McCartney 3, Driving Rain is, it's grown on me through the years. I didn't like it at first, and I still say that it's a really good album, except it's too long. There's maybe 3 or 4 songs too long. You realize those guys have gone off the deep end. And then he replies, I bought Driving Rain back when it came out, whenever that was. I've never opened it. Now, he's a big fan. Not because of any review, I just never did. I suppose I should play it once to see why everyone hates it. I don't hate it. See, he's labeling everybody, right? But I'll probably just give Red Rose Speedway another spin instead. Peace. And that's another album. You have to realize I've not always been a fan of everything Paul McCartney's done. Albums like Red Rose Speedway, I basically ignored for many, many years because of all of the critics saying that it was a bad album. So I kind of had that in my head until I actually really listened to it, and I think it's a very underrated album. I love Red Rose Speedway. And that is it. Whew. 45 minutes, no. I apologize for such a long video, but I wanted to, it's not even venting, it's just getting my feelings out about, this is just YouTube. It's not, or it never used to be, it's just fans. A lot of YouTube channels are just fans of music, fans of certain artists like Paul McCartney. So yes, there is a good chance whatever Paul McCartney puts out, us fans of Paul McCartney are going to either like or love within reason. There's always going to be some song, oh, I don't like that song, right? But that's it. I would love your thoughts about all of this in the comment section below. Have a great day. And please check out Pop Goes the 60s video.